All right, welcome everybody to our latest Between the Races podcast on the mxvice network. Thank you everyone for listening and supporting the site. We really appreciate it. We'd first like to thank our sponsors in Fly Racing, Monster Energy, Fox, Parts Europe, Scott, Bell Helmets, Acherbys, AS3 Performance, Kawasaki UK, KTM UK, O'Neill, and of course Even Strokes for all their incredible support, as without them none of this would be possible. All right, for this episode we have another Aussie motocross focus show as I'm joined by special guest Mick Sinclair's back, well known in the industry and one of the key driving forces in the Aussie Supercross Championships. How's life, and thanks for joining us again, mate.
Thanks for having me back on, Ed. It's good to be here doing this with you again.
No, mate, cheers. It's going to be another good one. Obviously, just fresh off Adelaide a couple of weeks ago, the opening round of the series. A lot of buzz, a lot of hype. You know, it was really well executed, I believe, mate, given the parameters and the confines of that tight arena. The crowds were treated to a really nice show. And I guess, how was it from your perspective? It must have been pretty good just to get that one rolling and get that under the belt and move forward to Newcastle now.
Yeah, it was really good. It was a lot of fun. It was a huge build up to it. And yeah, it was great to roll it out and execute it the way we did. You know, we said a lot of things going into it. And you know, when I joined AME this year and our team, you know, we made a pact that if we say we're going to do something, we're going to do it. And we definitely did that. It was great to roll it out. Huge build up, but the team worked really hard. And you know, the stadium, Adelaide Entertainment Centre, it's a really good venue for Supercross. The floor space is small, which mean the track's going to be really tight and small. And there's some things with that track that we probably could have done a little bit better, or changed it to make it a little bit better. And that's the feedback we've had. And we'll definitely take that on board. But, you know, overall, it was a really good night. We had 6,500 people there. You know, we almost sold that stadium out, which was great. The racing was good. We put on a really good show. Like, you know, we wrote a really good show plan, you know, for the opening ceremony to build the hype and the, you know, Australia versus the rest of the world kind of theme. And it worked great. And it really had the old Supercross Masters feel to it. And it was really fun to roll out.
Yeah, mate, well said. It was definitely an entertaining, exciting selection of racing going on across all the classes. And I guess some other highlights for you and the team, both on and off the track, when you debriefed back in the office when you got home. Have you got sort of some other things that you're particularly pleased about as well?
Yeah, look, it was interesting, right? So the feedback we got from the industry was amazing. We had, you know, guys like Craig Dack, Yariv, Ben Townley, Chad, the guys at KTM. You know, I even got an email from Jeff Leask to say it looked amazing. So we got great feedback from people who were at the event. They liked the track, they liked the venue, they liked how organized we were and how smoothly the event ran. There was, you know, there was no secret and you can't hide from it. There was some, you know, negative feedback, I guess, from the keyboard warriors on social media, and you're always going to get that. And I guess they watched the broadcast. And there was things, like I said, there's lots of little things that we could change for next time to make it a little bit better. But overall, it was great. You know, you read those comments online and you take them on board and you take the feedback on, but you can't read too much into it because they weren't there. And it's always seemed to be the same kind of people, you know, leaving those comments, and that's fine. That's what they do. It's the feedback from the people that really matter that we listen to, and like I said, it was great. There was lots of, like I said, little 1%ers here and there, but overall it was really good. And we've got a lot of momentum going into Newcastle, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool how you guys are aware of the feedback and aware of what can be done, and you're willing to listen, like you were saying with the angry privateer's dad having quite some forceful opinions, and you had a good chat and sit down with him, mate. So it's cool. Yeah, I think most people, you know, coming from a positive mindset, want the sport to do well and, you know, see it thrive. And, you know, it's just, you got to take a chance. Someone's got to take ownership of the series and run it, and you guys deserve credit for doing it, because it is a lot of ways a thankless task, mate. You're sort of leaving yourself open for it. But I guess as a team, you're probably happy with it. You know, you set the bar pretty high for the rest of the series, and I guess you met your expectations for what you expected from the night as a package, I guess.
Yeah, we did. But in saying that, like, that's the level it should be at, right? It's a national championship. It's, and we're Supercross in Australia. I think it's the second biggest national series outside of the US. So it has to be run at that level. What we did was good, but so it should be. People pay good money to come and watch it. People pay, entry fees to come and race it. They're our customers. So we have to give those guys that level of experience, and anything below that level, in our opinion, isn't acceptable. So it was good. Yep, don't get me wrong. We're stoked with how it went, but that's how it should have went. It was, we met our expectations, and anything less wouldn't have met our expectations. So that's just our mindset. We've got to provide that experience, not only for the people who come and watch, but also our customers in that of the riders and the teams. So yeah, it was good. But like I said, we hit all the marks and gave that experience to the fans and the riders. But yeah, like I said, so we should have.
Yeah, mate, love that honesty. It's really good to hear that because, sometimes you see things get swept under the rug, but yeah, you're just all over it and you know what the product needs to be. And you obviously had that WSX TV streaming package so the world can watch it. And did you get a lot of feedback from international viewers and people tuning in because it was well done, well managed and, that kind of thing? So there's a lot of eyes on it, obviously, with the racing slowing down. Expect that to only get more heading into Newcastle and Melbourne with there's no AMA racing, no World Championship racing. It's really only WSX, Paris Supercross and Aussie Supercross in terms of the big heavy hitting events, mate. So how was the feedback from overseas?
Pretty good. I mean, I didn't really get a lot of feedback overseas. I will say that the numbers were strong. And especially on the 7+ platform, I think we had, around 25,000 people watch the stream, which really surprised us. I mean, going into it, we didn't know what to expect in terms of numbers. Well, we did. We knew what Newcastle did last year with 7+, and it was around 7,000.
And that was Motocross the Nations weekend too, so that's good numbers.
Yeah, so Adelaide had around 25,000 streams on 7+. WSX TV was a little bit lower, it was like 1,000, but it's still decent. And the only people who could watch it on WSX TV were people outside of Australia. So it was good to see 1,000 people from around the world tune in, but the 7+ numbers was the impressive one for us. We were blown away to have 6,500 people at the event when last year in Adelaide they had around 3,500. So, we had an extra 3,000 people at the event plus 25,000 people tune in live. It was very cool. Plus there was about 9,000 replays. So the numbers were strong, like really positive.
Yeah, no, that's really cool to hear, mate. And that's really good numbers to give to the sponsors and the partners and just to build momentum going forward, I guess, as well. And I wanted to get your take on how the privateers receive those new initiatives, you put in like the photo and video content, the prize money. Obviously, that's so cool. And I guess, massively helpful all you're doing to raise their profiles with the stuff on the internet and obviously offering them free tickets if they do their part in promoting the series. Those incentives are really cool. So do you get some good feedback from the privateers? Because I know they're speaking to some of them, they're definitely grateful for all that help you give them.
Yep. It's like I said in the first show I did with you, it's been received really well. The vibes from the privateer boys was super high in Adelaide. They, we did everything we said we would. We got them the images the day after. I mean, there's little bits and pieces there. We probably could have rolled it out better, but that's only from our side. But overall, everyone was stoked. We got some of the privateers, some of the local guys involved in press day, and Elijah was great in Adelaide. We got him down there doing some things on the Thursday before with Charlie Dixon, and then the week before we got him down to a basketball game that was at the same venue. We had him, the pits were all together, so they're amongst all the teams. So we did everything we said we were going to do for that privateer support program, as we should. And it worked great. Feedback was really good. Everyone seemed really positive. I haven't had any negative feedback from it. So it's good.
Wicked, mate. And obviously the Chad Reed CR2285 Cup, that was really cool to see that debuting, and Chad was obviously there, and that obviously looked like it went down really well. Top experience for those youngsters to test themselves and learn from one of the greatest to do it, so giving them that mentoring and that confidence on how to attack the track and sort of, just giving them a walkthrough must have been sort of invaluable for them to ease the nerves heading into the racing, mate. So Chad was happy with it because obviously you were saying in that he wanted to get behind that class because he was more like the SX3 is not his thing because they should be racing pro at sort of that 16 age mark. So Chad was happy, mate, and was he in good form, giving you pointers and probably being pretty constructive with all the comments he had.
Chad was good. It was great to have him in Adelaide. He flew in just for it. Florida's a long way from, Dade City's a long way from Adelaide, so he definitely put the effort in, and he was good. He worked with Brooksy on the track. He worked with us on some format things. He was just, he acted as a bit of an advisor, and it was great to have him there. It kind of was a bit of a fluke, wasn't it? Adelaide Entertainment Centre, like I said, is small. So the track was small, and it was probably a really good track to kick off the 85s class. There was some super impressive kids in that class, like, Jack Nunn, I think it's DJ, Levi, Lockie Allen. Man, they were jumping, pretty much every section of that track. Like very, very impressive kids. So it's exciting. It's good. We had 30 odd, 37, I think, enter, and then, they had qualifying, which eliminated a couple, but going into Newcastle, we've got the same amount of riders, plus, we've dropped a couple, but a couple have joined, including Tate. Chad and Tate are coming out, which is going to be really interesting to watch. You got no idea how Tate's going to go, right? Because we've never seen him ride before, but if it goes anything like the videos that they've been posting lately, he's definitely on it. So it's going to be great to see Tate line up against the likes of Jack Nunn and Lockie Allen and those boys. It's just added another element to Australian Supercross where it's not just a novelty class. Yeah, it's not a championship yet. It's a series, the 85 Cup. But we're working with MA for it to become an Australian championship, which I think we will next year. But it just, like I said, it adds another element to it, and it's not a novelty, and you actually do want to sit and watch it because the racing is good. Like, they're very skillful kids, and it's great to give them that platform where we're not waiting for them to get on a 250F to watch them. And I hear now that there's parents of 10-year-old kids going out and building Supercross tracks now because they know in a year and a half or 2 years' time they're going to be racing this class.
Yep,
they don't want to wait. So, I can't wait to see what that entry list is going to look like in a couple of years.
Yeah, I guess kids in the stand watching it will probably just look at that and think, I wouldn't mind doing that. So it gives them a good bit of motivation, incentive to have a crack and get into the sport because, you guys are doing a good job of promoting it. And that adds another little subplot of interest, obviously, with the mxvice being British-based. Obviously, Wilson and Anstey getting the job done was pretty good for our readers and viewers and just good news. But I know Mossy on the podium's keen to get those Aussies taking home some wins, mate. So it's sort of creating a nice little us versus them, the internationals versus the Aussies. So that's going to be a cool little, theme to follow throughout the series too, isn't it?
It is. And that's really, Mossy's really driving that. And we didn't at all, but it's pretty cool to watch. Mossy got up there at the opening ceremony. Might have been looking for some fans, I think. And he said, have a look around me. And I'm the only one up here with an Aussie flag. And I was like, oh shit, he actually is. And the crowd went off, and then he used that again at presentation. But yeah, it's really cool to see these rivalries roll out. Dino was surprising, wasn't he? Like, I don't know. I just didn't expect Dean to win. I just didn't. He's always going to be there. He's not the best starter traditionally, and Adelaide was all about the starts, but he was on from the first lap he went out there. I still think Matt was probably the quickest. I mean, I didn't even look at times who had the quickest time, but Matt seemed to reel him in and then would make a couple of mistakes. He'd over jump something and end up in the fence, or he'd muck something up and then he'd have to reel him in again. But that was Matt, and a new bike, new team.
His starts were on fire, weren't they?
Unbelievable. So, yeah, it's Newcastle going to the full-size track. It's going to be really interesting. I mean, you can't count JB out either. JB was pissed in Adelaide afterwards, though. He got second. And I thought, you'd be happy to come away from a round like that where you could really destroy your series or your championship. You think he'd be stoked with the second place just to get out of there in one piece and some solid points. But, man, he was not stoked on the podium. I was right there. I'm like, you all right? What happened? He goes, no, I just hate losing. Fair enough. So it was really cool to see it that up close and personal and their reaction straight after the race. Mossy was fuming. Dino was stoked drinking champagne out of his boot. JB was pissed. Like, it was just really interesting to be that close as soon as the riders take their helmets off and the reactions.
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's not like they're treating it like some exhibition. They're really going hard and it's really, they want to win. Dean Wilson said he hasn't had a win for so long. So it was actually a pretty special moment for him getting there. And these dudes are fighting it out pretty hard, mate. So that's,
I hadn't
gives the
thought about
series some
that.
more credibility as well, doesn't it?
When was the last time Dino won? Like,
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that until he said it. I'm like, yeah, it's been years.
Yeah.
So it would have been really cool for him.
Yeah, no, it was good. And yeah, it means so much to him. Moving into Newcastle, mate, obviously you mentioned 17,000 there last year, on track for 20,000, fans. That's the target, isn't it, mate? So how have the tickets been selling? It's going to be a massive event. Have you got some cool plans you'd like to share with everyone? Obviously big on the show element, which is kind of what it's got to be these days with Supercross. So the fans should be in for a treat. The entertainment will be good. So how's it all shaping up?
Shaping up really well. The track looks good. Again, full size track. On that rugby field. Ticket sales are going really well. We're on track to hit what we did last year or maybe even exceed it. It's really hard to tell. The weather's going to be great. It's going to be 27, I think, and sunny. So we've got a great day and night for Supercross. The show plan's looking good. We know we've got an exciting opening ceremony planned, really bringing back, the best of Supercross. Got a huge FMX show. My brother's going to be riding and Bilko and Chucky. So they're going to be putting on a huge FMX show. The pit party is going to be great. So we're really getting the fans involved and we've built a stage within the pit area. And during that pit party time, there's going to be constant things happening on there. Trent Maher's going to host it for us, which is really cool. And yeah, we're going to have, different riders throughout the day doing Q&As with Trent. Fox are going to be out there doing giveaways. MX Store, Pit Viper are getting involved. So we're really, trying to provide value before the race in that pit party for ticket holders. I mean, you don't even need a ticket to go to the pit party. It's open. So, I encourage everyone to come down and check it out because it's, obviously the racing is going to be on point and we're going to have a lot of fun pre-event in that pit party and we're going to put on a good show. So it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good sort of opportunity to add value and the brands will be loving that exposure as well and, just getting to showcase themselves. And Newcastle's a massive hotbed for motocross in Australia, isn't it, mate? So you're expecting a really strong turnout, isn't it? It should be just a massive sort of boost for the industry in general too.
The Hunter region is similar to Southern California, isn't it? It's a bit of a hub or a mecca for dirt bikes in Australia, not just motocross and supercross, but off-road as well. So you've got lakes, the track at Lakes, you got one at Cessnock, you've got, speedway clubs. It's just like I said, you've got
Maitland nearby.
Maitland, right? You got the biggest KDM deal in Australia there at KDM Newcastle. So it's definitely a hub and, we expect it to go well.
Yeah, and I guess from your perspective, are you happy with how you guys are promoting the series on your website, social media, all that kind of thing? The coverage is obviously good on TV, and you've introduced that bench races series, which is really cool. It had Anstey on the last episode and Moss, I believe, on the first one. So that's another cool thing to just to spice things up and to spread the word about the series, isn't it, mate? And it's got that Channel 7 association, so free-to-air TV in Australia or free to access. It's only good news, isn't it?
Bench races is good. It's just 15 to 30 minute sit down interview with, the key people of Australian Supercross. We filmed 4 episodes in Adelaide and we're going to film another 4 in Newcastle and another 4 in Melbourne. So that'll get us an episode each week till the end of the year. So every Thursday night on 7+ and on the Australian Supercross YouTube channel, we'll roll out a new episode. So we did Mossy first and that had a huge amount of views. It was really good. And he really opened up. I mean, I'm not sure if you saw it, but he really opened up and told his story about what it was like growing up. And, and then obviously he's just, his time in the US and what it was like to be, how shit it was to be a teammate with Dungey. That I didn't know that story. And then obviously, during his 4 years when he was banned, what he went through with that was really eye-opening, going into the mental institute and bits and pieces, because he was struggling. so to open up like that was great. And then, yeah, Max's episode was really good too. We've got Brett Metcalf's one going out tonight, which is Thursday. And then next week we have Chad's. So in the lead up to Newcastle. So it's good. I watched Chad's episode a couple of days ago. Yeah. And it was also really cool. So yeah, make sure you check it out on Australian Supercross YouTube channel or 7+ if you're in Australia. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, mate, that's definitely adds a bit of extra, insight and value as well, mate. And I guess last time we spoke, you were mentioning there might be some announcement coming for the 2024 series. Obviously, you had some exciting plans in the work. Obviously, you probably can't share any news yet, but if you can, what are you sort of looking at? Going to be a few more rounds, this kind of thing?
Yep. Wouldn't be a few more rounds, but there's going to be more rounds than this year. We did say we'd like to have the dates out by Newcastle. We're not in a position to do that just because we're still working on a venue or a couple of venues in Queensland potentially. So we will be going back to Queensland, which is great. And we've got some dates in mind, but that's about all I can tell you right now. And we will have an announcement out by the end of the year. It hasn't just gone as smoothly as we like, or it hasn't been as easy as we like to lock away venues and bits and pieces. But yeah, next year's shaping up to be good. We're going to carry the momentum from this year. There'll be more rounds. We'll go back to Queensland. So yeah, it's looking really good though.
Yeah, on the topics of motocross meccas in Australia, Queensland's definitely right up there, isn't it? With all those training facilities with the Nathan Crawford 00 Elite, Ford Dale, a lot of dudes training up there. The series is really good. So that's pretty exciting, mate. There'll definitely be a lot of interest in that. And I'm sure you're already planning for all of that to sort of come to fruition. And I guess just give us an insight as well into how difficult it is to manage a series, because obviously the fans, just turn up and, it's all there ready to go. Whereas it must be just a logistical nightmare. So much stress and so much planning that goes into making it happen too, mate. So I guess give us a little bit of insight in how your sort of days and weeks look and just the volume of work that goes into it.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of work goes into it. There's 4 or 5 in our office, who are full time, and, we work across, we do some things with World Supercross. We do some things with the Lawrence brothers with their merch, but I'd say most of our time is tied up with Australian Supercross. So it's this year's 3 rounds, but it takes a lot of work. Adding an extra round adds a little bit of work, but not too much. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of work, a lot to do. And the key for me is just communication. Communicating with our team, communicating with our partners, communicating with the teams, the venues. As long as you're all clear and all on the same page, it should go pretty smoothly.
Sounds like you're pretty concise and clear with the communications, mate. I believe, or was it never die wondering with you, mate? So people know where you stand, that's for sure. And just looking at it, do you gain influence from other motorsports, I guess MotoGP, F1 or, WSX, or do you look at NBA and soccer and just for different ideas how to organise these things, or is it just so unique you just do what needs to be done, mate?
No, you definitely, look what everyone else is doing and you try and take the best bits from everyone else, For example, I even look at what my kids' sports with BMX and mountain biking and how they run those events. And in particular, for me, the way they handle the entries. That's something that is, I think we could do better. And we're looking at the way they do that in mountain biking and BMX. But yeah, look, we try and take the best bits of everything. For example, you mentioned F1. Instead of doing a post-race press conference now, we do the media scrum out on the track. Yep. That was an idea from Trent, but, that comes from F1. So, yeah, we do take inspiration from, other sports and other events. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a good idea, mate, to sort of elevate things and just try new things. And obviously with Supercross, the motocross, being outdoors is not as accessible as something like Supercross. So you're definitely in a good position to have a lot of scope for growth, isn't it, mate? Because it's more, how hardcore fans like us, probably love going to motocross still. It's like brutal, out in the heat. People love the riders, seeing them, do their thing, and they love that sort of suffering aspect. But Supercross is just really accessible in those stadiums, shielded from the weather. The facilities such as the toilets, they're not like the portaloos. They're often a bit of a crime scene at motocross tracks. So there's so many good things you can add into Supercross to make it a real show, like you said, with the freestyle motocross and also the live events, concerts, pit parties. You can sort of do so much more, and it's not muddy and it's just comfortable, isn't it, mate? So that's a big thing working in your favour, and I guess you're always looking to take full advantage of it where possible.
Yeah, well, you pay more money to watch a Supercross too than what you would go to watch a Pro MX round. So you have to provide that experience. You can't just expect to rock up to an outdoor track and you got the canteen there and you got the portaloos and everything, and there's no opening ceremony. So you do pay more to come and watch a Supercross race, and so you should, but we also have to provide that value, and that entertainment and that overall experience.
Yeah, well said, mate. And just obviously touching on Jet Lawrence, you mentioned before you do a bit of stuff with him. How cool was it? Just the season he had, and obviously that Alpine Stars sort of docu-film has just dropped, and just incredible, mate. He just put another clinic at the Motocross of Nations, even though he had a little bit of adversity, but the way he just adapted to the track, and he's just so balanced, stable, measured, just the technique's just phenomenal, mate, the mindset. The boys did the Aussies proud, Ferris and his brother Hunter too, to pick up our best result ever as second. So even though you were working at Adelaide, mate, I'm sure when you watch the replay, be pretty proud seeing the boys do that on that brutal track, and the environment was just absolutely pumping there too, mate. Another good advertisement for the sport down under for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was. I got home from Adelaide and watched it live on telly that Sunday night, I think it was. Yeah, it was good. Jet's just incredible, isn't he? And it's an exciting time to be an Australian fan of motocross and supercross with those two over in the US, but also here too. It's going to be interesting to see what Tanny does with Supercross over there next year. That's exciting to see another Aussie in the mix. But yeah, it's good. I think we're in a really good spot. Domestic motocross championship is strong. We're rebuilding Supercross, and that's going well. We've got a lot of momentum. And then, on the other side of the ditch in the US, like I said, with Jet and Hunter and now Tanty, and it's just it's an exciting time to be a fan.
Yeah, and how excited are you to see Hunter step up to the 450, mate? It's going to be really interesting. Obviously, just officially announced. It's sort of been one of the worst kept secrets, I guess. But how cool is that going to be, mate? That A1, I don't know if you plan on going, mate, but it's going to be pretty amazing with obviously the Aussie connection, like you said, plus Tomac, Roxon, just Jason Anderson, AP, AC. It's going to be Dean Wilson. It's going to be absolutely huge, that A1, isn't it, mate?
It will be.
ATM.
I don't know if I don't think I'm going to A1, but I plan to get to at least one, potentially A3 or A2, whatever it is now. Bailey and I were talking about it when we were at MotoGP, and I know he's thinking of getting over there. So yeah, I'd love to get to one, and it's definitely on the cards. Nothing's locked in yet, but we'll see. But it's you can't beat A1 day. I mean, have you ever been to one?
Nah, mate.
Best. It's crazy. The atmosphere at Angel Stadium is electric, and everyone's just up and about. Everyone's gone the best. They've all had the best off season they've ever had, and they're all saying the same thing. Flying at the test track. That's it. And no one's got any idea what's going to happen. So it's always super exciting. But yeah, it's definitely on the cards to get over there and check one out again. I've been to obviously a bunch over there, and they never get boring. It's an amazing spectacle to go and check out American Supercross.
Yeah, mate, well said. And obviously, with you being in the industry, probably around 25 years, in and around it in some capacity, mate, just what are some of the key changes, I guess, you've seen from back in those days to, I guess, now, and when you go to an A1 and to in the role you're now currently doing, there must be some pretty sort of massive overhauls and key things and, I guess, milestones that you've seen that have made the sport better or worse. So just your take on some of those, mate.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was out of it for 8 years, right? After I left Monza and went to Harley. And for those 8 years, like I told you last time, I was pretty burnt out by it, and I didn't really pay a lot of attention. So, changes here. I've come back, and it feels like I never left. It's the same people. There's a lot of new riders that have come through, but it's still the same team owners, the same teams. The same people talking about each other. It's all like nothing's really changed. I think Pro MX is got more professional. I think if anything has changed is the broadcast, right? You can watch it now on live TV, and that's really cool. Obviously, the bikes have changed; they got faster. I haven't been to an American Supercross for 8 years, so I'll have to. Hopefully, I can get over there and check one out, and then I'll be able to answer that question: what's changed over there? But here, I don't think much has changed at all, other than it's just got a lot better. The level of professionalism in these teams. It's everything overall bigger and better.
Yeah, recently, I guess the big change has been the SMX with Feld and MX Sports sort of coming together to create that hybrid series. What's your overall take on it, mate? Obviously, ups and downs, negatives and positives. There was sort of a lot of chat about bike setup, but I guess for considering they're trying something new, it was a pretty good effort. And it just sort of brings more eyes on the series, more money for the riders, really, wasn't it, mate? So they're definitely happy about that. I don't know if the teams and the mechanics were super pumped on it, then hitting up nations pretty shortly after for some of those guys. But what was your personal opinion on it, mate? Because obviously seeing things all over the world yourself, you're probably quite well versed to have a decent opinion on it, mate.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I got to be careful what I say. SMX was purely just a reaction to World Supercross, right? It was basically just a reaction to that. And yeah, it was great to see the amount of money. Jet wins $1 million, and it was probably good to see the mid-pack privateer boys get paid, 30 to that 50 grand, but that's what they should get paid over there anyway, in my opinion. And I actually just stole that quote from McGrath and his Gypsy Tale podcast last week. But what MC said was 100% right. It was just a reaction. And it probably should have happened over there anyway in terms of what the boys are getting paid. So, I mean, I think I watched one. I watched the highlights of another one. I was kind of done with American racing by the time it came around. It was like, here we go again, another one. The tracks were interesting, those hybrid tracks, and the bike setup that added an element of interest to it. But yeah, I don't know. That's really my opinion on it.
Yeah, well, how it progresses into next year as well, mate, because they're definitely going pretty hard on it, and they're sort of leaning into that world championship thing really, really hard, and almost like dismissing a lot of other series with some of the commentary that was going on from where the broadcasters saying the best dudes in the world are here, and it's sort of a bit dismissive MXGP riders and obviously riders all over the world. But yeah, we'll see how it plays out, mate. I'm definitely pushing it, and I suppose more eyes is good, and I guess the TV package is really good. I was talking to Jason Thomas saying with that Hollywood strike, it's they want content, guaranteed content, and that's what it gives them, because there's probably going to be a bit of a lull or a downturn coming up. So that's another angle, I guess, which is a positive for the sport, isn't it?
Yeah, no, you're right. It was good. It was good to get more eyeballs. Yeah, I mean, I just don't know if they need that many races over there. Do they take, if they want to include it, do they take a couple of rounds off Supercross and a round or two off motocross and then throw that in the mix? It was a lot, and I think a lot of people were kind of done with it by the time it rolled around. And I think if there was a couple of less races or events, by the time it come around, maybe it would be more exciting.
Yeah, obviously, and then the whole point structure,
that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's good for the, hardcore fans keeping in touch, but the average fan, it was probably like quite a lot of all new stuff to get used to, and the points and how it all works, and then this format of the double, triple points, all this kind of things, that just throws it in there, mate. But I guess back to you, mate, and in your day-to-day job, it was really cool to see what you're saying, that the series needs to be excellent, needs to be, in a good direction and really professional. So do you feel much pressure, stress, and I guess dealing with the responsibility of sort of making Australian Supercross as good as it can be? Or are you pretty sort of relaxed about it all because you're confident in the work you've done, so the planning's there, so it should run as smoothly as it can?
Yeah, I'm pretty relaxed. There's always an element of stress because you need bums on seats, right? So that's where the stress comes from. In terms of the way the events are ran, there's no stress there. I mean, we've got that pretty dialed, and our team working really hard, and we've got that show aspect dialed and the event aspect dialed. Kevin Williams is our director of motorsport, and he's been around for 1 million years and done everything in motocross and supercross here in Australia and around the world. So we've got the right people. So running the event that isn't too stressful because we're all organized. The stress comes from making sure we get enough bums on seats to cover the cost.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Well said. Just a couple more for you before we let you go. You obviously got a fair bit going on outside of your job with your kids doing the racing, and obviously you got a shred bike care company as well, mate. So I guess it keeps you pretty well occupied and takes the mind off work and gives you a good bit of balance to your life. So just explain about that and any other hobbies you enjoy doing, mate, in the lifestyle and the time that you have, because it's probably not a huge amount of free time going on.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun though. Yeah, you're right. There is we've got a lot going on. But it's good. My kids are very active in sport. I'm actually doing this from a cabin in a place called Shepparton, which is regional Victoria here in Australia. They race BMX, and we've got the BMX Nationals here all week, which is super exciting for our family because we put a lot of time and effort into it, and the kids train their backsides off, and it's a big week for us. And they're both riding really well, so it's cool to do that. And between BMX and my son races downhill, so we're always somewhere doing something. Work is pretty busy, and then I've also got my other side business, which is Shred Bike Care. Kind of sits there in the background doing its thing. We've got good distributors here in Australia that look after the sales side of it, and we've got our product range dialed now. We're not looking to increase any more products just for the sake of it. So I look after the marketing side. My wife does all the admin and runs the books, and it goes pretty smoothly. I mean, it's not gonna it's not huge by any means, but it goes well, and it's a bit of fun.
Yeah, it sounds good, mate. And also just predictions, I guess, for the upcoming WSX and AusX. Just any key things, maybe not even predictions, just things you're looking out for, things you're looking forward to. Obviously, a lot of parity in the racing. There's going to be so many class riders on show. So just your thoughts on those two series, I guess, which will be pretty good in the next couple of weeks for the moto fans all over the world.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi this weekend is going to be really cool. I'm not sure if you saw the track map, but that staggered start is going to be interesting. Like, it's a small floor space. I was actually talking to my brother last night because he's over there in Abu Dhabi doing freestyle and doing some PR stuff for him this morning. So we were talking on Instagram early in the early hours this morning, and I said it actually looks a lot smaller, the floor space, and he goes, it's about the same size as Sydney Superdome or Kudos Bank Arena, whatever they call it, which is decent size for an indoor. But it's cool that they're running the track out the back and then back into the stadium. But you normally run 10 bikes. But to run a staggered start, it's going to create chaos. I mean, imagine having Vince Freezy on the back row. Like,
throw it in there.
I would, if I was on the front row and he was behind me, I would move back. you know what's to come. And it's probably not. It's probably a bit unfair on Vince. It's probably anyone, right? But I mean, how good is that going to be to watch? And I'm looking forward to. I'm actually got to do some work for that event, and I'll be doing it remotely. So I think it starts at 11:30 p.m. here in Melbourne. So that's going to be exciting to watch. I mean, predictions, it's really hard to tell. Ken should be good. Shane should be good. I think it'll just be the usual culprits, but anything can happen in those indoor stadiums. And there's a lot of money on the line for those World Supercross events with prize money. So anything can happen. So it's going to be super exciting. In terms of Australian Supercross and predictions, I think Matt's going to come out swinging. He won at Newcastle last year. He's doing the work. A bit more time on that bike with that team. I think Matt is the one to watch there. But again, you can't count out JB on a full-size track. Dino's absolutely flying. Got the momentum from Adelaide. So you just don't know, right? Josh Hill could be fast. Tanny could be quick. Cloudy's going to be fast. Like, it's going to be on. Max, I think, will be hard to beat in that lights class. He's just on fire at the moment. And, it's going to be pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, mate, it's going to be an action-packed couple of weeks. And, the entry list on both events is really strong. So it'll be, fans will be loving to watching it all over the world, mate. Final thoughts, anything you'd like to sort of shout out or promote the series or point the fans to anywhere, or where can they follow you, mate, just before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, no, just if you can, get down to Newcastle. Support Australian Supercross. It's going to be, we're working hard to put on a really good show. And like I said to you, we need to provide value, and we're definitely aiming to do that. So I think for anyone that does get to Newcastle, you're not going to come away disappointed with the night. You're going to come away watching a great night of Supercross and have a really good experience. If you can't get there, make sure you catch it on 7+. Like I said, the broadcast views have been really good, but let's keep growing that, and let's try and get 30,000 plus watching that stream. So I know not everyone can get to Newcastle, but there's plenty of people who do like Supercross and love Supercross here in Australia. So jump on a 7+ and make sure you check it out.
Absolutely, mate. Well said. Definitely a lot to look forward to. But before we let you go, yeah, mate, I'll be there. I'm ready.
Can't wait to meet you in person and see you there. Stoked that you're joining us.
Yeah, mate, it'll be good. Yeah, wife and I are going down and we'll sort of, put a bit of stuff on MXvice and spread the word, mate, because it'll just be a really good event. I'm looking forward to it. It should be pretty packed. The vibe should be good. The atmosphere will be good. And I think everyone's a lot of people you speak to actually think Newcastle's more of the marquee event as opposed to Marvel. So, because I guess it's just purely Aussie Supercross. So do you feel that as well?
Definitely. I mean, from AME, we run Adelaide and Newcastle. SX Global run the Melbourne event. So for us, it's our marquee event for sure. I mean, the Friday night at Melbourne is going to be huge too. We love partnering with World Supercross on that event. We're still heavily involved in it, but yeah, Newcastle's our baby and that's going to be massive.
Yeah, mate, it's going to be so good. And before we wrap this one up, we'll thank the sponsors in Fly Racing, Monster Energy, Fox, Parts Europe, Scott, Bell Helmets, Acherbys, ASO Performance, Kawasaki UK, KTM UK, O'Neill, and of course, Even Strokes for all their incredible support. As without them, none of this would be possible. All right, cheers again, mate, and all the best, and look forward to catching up with you soon.
Awesome, mate. Thanks for having me, and we'll see you next week.